Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, members of the faculty, the staff, family and friends of the graduates, and members of the graduating class. Welcome to the 7th Berkeley-Columbia Graduation Recognition Ceremony. I am Rich Lyons. I am Rich Lyons, Dean of the Haas School of Business. It's my duty, it's my great pleasure to co-officiate at the ceremony today with Ethan Hannaberry, who is the Senior Associate Dean for Degree Programs at the Columbia Business School. He will address you presently. It's a great day for many, many reasons, but I want to cite two in particular. First, it is a celebration of your personal achievement for having persevered through 19 months of a rigorous general management curriculum and having succeeded in mastering new skills and new abilities, all the while managing your demanding, stressful jobs, maintaining your active family and social lives. Many of you regularly traveled long distances to make your classes that were offered every 3 weeks, either here in the Bay Area or in Manhattan. We know it wasn't always easy, but your accomplishment in finding ways to balance all of those commitments is nothing short of remarkable. We applaud you for it. Also, this is the 7th commencement of the Berkeley-Columbia Executive MBA program, a unique joining of two great business schools and two great universities. The breadth and depth of professional experience that is represented by this class of 62 members who are graduating is truly extraordinary. It is no wonder that Berkeley-Columbia Executive MBA program is considered among the very best such programs anywhere in the world. The faculty and staffs of both schools have worked hard to meet your expectations as well as our standards forever of excellence. I had the great pleasure of meeting and getting to know many of you over your time here, and I still look forward to meeting you now and then over the years. We are frequently in New York, as the Columbia team is frequently here. A little bit of history. The program was conceived and launched in June 2002 by former Haas School Dean Laura Tyson and also Mayor Feldberg, then Dean of Columbia Business School, the previous dean. It has been a great success since its launch. It clearly meets a growing need among experienced executives for high-quality general management MBA program. And because it is a dual degree program of the two business schools, you will all have received shortly 2 MBA degrees, one from Columbia and one from Berkeley. It's another unique distinction among business schools to have both degrees. It means you've satisfied the academic requirements of both of those schools, of both of the faculties of those schools. That is not easily done. You have managed it. Congratulations to you. Many of you will have heard me say that I believe all top business schools have a common mission: to develop leaders. This we must do because we sit in an enviable position of seeing the very best talent anywhere. This is the top X of the top Y of the top Z of the people. Society needs you to lead. We need you to lead. Given the continuing challenging state of the global economy, your skills as business leaders are needed more than ever now and going forward. Through this program, we have taught you lessons of innovative leadership and responsible leadership. And by innovative leadership, innovative is a word that's used too often. Let me put a little color on it. Really, what is animating modern economies? How do we make organizations even better at putting new ideas to work? That is the essential element of where value is getting created. This is what's animating modern economy. It's true whether you're producing cars or whether you're producing pure products of the mind. And these are leaders who understand that process, and they will do so responsibly. It is absolutely essential that they do so. We hope we have given you the tools to find fresh solutions to our problems, lead those organizations ethically with high principles. I look forward to seeing how you take what you have learned during your time here and in our program to make our world and our economy better for everyone. That, too, is part of your responsibility. Finally, before we proceed, I want to offer special thanks to a group of individuals who have worked hard and sacrificed to make this day possible for those soon-to-be graduates. That's the families. Let's hear it for the families. Thanks to all of you, the spouses, the significant others, children, parents, employers, friends of the graduating students in the audience today, and those who couldn't be with us today. Very, very important to making all of this work. You nurtured and supported them because of their busy schedules. You probably waited around for them to call, to come home. You are true partners in their achievement, and we celebrate you today as well. And families, I ask you, what were they thinking when they went back to business school? It's now my great pleasure to introduce you to the Senior Associate Dean for Degree Programs at Columbia University, Columbia Business School, Ethan Hannaberry. Please, Ethan.
I would like to second Dean Lyons' congratulations to the Berkeley-Columbia class of 2010. You are extraordinary and an extraordinarily diverse class that represents many industries, functions, cultures, and geographies. It has been particularly gratifying to see how you exemplify some of the things that we hold most dear about Columbia Business School. You are bright, talented, and committed to the principles of leadership and entrepreneurial thinking. I could easily tell 62 success stories about today's graduates. Let me share a few. Chris von Holbrook's company, C-Prime, was recently named one of the fastest growing private companies in America by Inc. magazine. Jason Madsen meanwhile started the Madsen Real Estate Group while being a student. And I understand at the urging of Ironman triathlete Christina Henschel, 12 of you have registered for the Vineman Ironman, continuing the tradition of the Berkeley-Columbia students being the fittest of all of our executive MBA students. Today, we celebrate your accomplishments and wish you continued success in your new role as alumni. I know that you leave our schools and this program well prepared to meet the challenges of an unprecedented business and economic environment. And I look forward to seeing the change you will effect in the future in your careers and in your communities. Since the day you arrived, the Berkeley-Columbia Executive MBA program has challenged you to be interesting and contributing members of our community. And during your time among us, you have learned the value of working in collaboration and in friendship with your classmates. May the bonds you have formed here flourish as you join the ranks of Columbia Business School's 38,000 alumni and the Haas School of Business's 35,000 alumni, who represent the face of our schools in the global business community. You will likely find that those alumni connections will be even more important now than ever. You have certainly learned a great deal in your time here, but let me focus on two things that great business schools like ours can impart. This is the power of business to do tremendous good. That is, business is a force that transforms economies and societies. That premise is under attack right now as we slowly work our ways out of the most significant financial and economic crisis since the Great Depression. To many, the capitalist engine of growth must be tamed. What's more, business schools themselves face criticism that they contributed to this financial crisis. My response to this assertion is to reaffirm the positive role that business plays in society and to reinforce the responsibility of schools like ours to create whole business leaders. Your MBA is a calling card that says to the world, I am entrepreneurial. I am a problem solver who understands the whole puzzle, not just a piece of it. And I can find and seize upon opportunity in any environment. And the second important mark of a great business school, a great program prepares you for a lifelong career in business, in social enterprise, and in public service. For all of you, that means not just a skill set, but a mindset that will enable you to succeed. And because you know more than less experienced MBAs about what you expect from your careers, you know that the value of your degree and the executive MBA experience will unfold over time. Finally, as you head off today, try to remember that you are an extraordinary class of the Berkeley-Columbia Executive MBA program. As you go into the next phase of your lives and your careers, remember what a great feeling it is to be doing something that few others have had the opportunity to do. Remember to keep alive that spirit of risk-taking, innovation, and building something brand new as you build your careers. I look forward to hearing all 62 success stories in the years to come. Congratulations to the class of 2010. It is with great pleasure that I now introduce Simon Osborne to deliver the student opening remarks. Let me tell you a little bit about Simon. Simon and his wife have been living in the United States since 2006. Having moved here from the UK, where Simon had been working in the London office of a US investment management firm for 4 years, when they offered him a vice president position in Newport Beach, California. His role was within the legal and compliance department and involved managing a team in a fast-paced environment. Since completing the program, Simon has already benefited from the power of two when he was recruited to be another asset manager in Century City, Los Angeles. Simon reports that his wife was happy to move to the US as she was an aspiring actress. And so, when they arrived, she spent much of her time in LA. Amongst other appearances, she starred in a leading role for a TV movie and since has moved on to producing and writing. She is currently working on 2 films that are in the development stage. And Simon hopes one day to become her red carpet arm candy. They both enjoy the Southern California lifestyle and the weather and plan to stay here until someone makes them a better offer. Simon?
Well, that's quite an introduction. It's almost like I wrote it myself. Well, thank you very much for having me up here today, and thank you to the whole class for voting me. I didn't think I would make it up here. I physically didn't think I would make it up here. I'm actually terrified. But you did it, and I did it. It's okay. I brought some emergency equipment, courtesy of Southwest Airlines. I have a bag which I'm going to place just here. That's just in case I pull what is becoming increasingly known as a Simon. Either way, you have made a man confront his biggest fear today, public speaking. As many of you know, people are more scared of public speaking than they are of death itself. And I am no exception to that. I thought about what would happen if I tried to back out of today. And it turns out that my fear of 61 MBA grade smart aleck comments from each of you was greater than my fear of public speaking. So here I am. Wish me luck. I know you didn't really mean to make me confront my fear today. All except my dear friend Prabhu, who actually told me he voted for me for exactly this reason. So I could face this head on in front of my peers and a bunch of really smart professors. I thank Prabhu for that, and I'll thank him again afterwards. Further, on this very important occasion, I know the rest of you voted for me to be your commencement ceremony speaker, not because you like me particularly more than anyone else in class, nor because I'm particularly witty, nor smart, but at this point I would like to point out that I do have 2 MBAs. Do I have them yet? Oh, not yet. But you voted for me because I speak with an English accent. The Queen's English, that is. Not some attempt at English where you remove important letters like a U from the words color, favor, and parlor. The English that gave America practically every good idea it's ever had. No, stop. I promised my wife I would not go down that road. So in return for your shallow and unfathomable fixation with the way I speak, I have decided to complete today's address in my finest representation of an American accent. And I hope in doing this that you get a glimpse, just for a second, at how ridiculous you might sound whenever you try and impersonate an English accent. Just when you thought it was safe to go back into the classroom, the MBA from hell returned. And this time, it's taking no prisoners. BC Ember, the double whammy. And that, by the way, is how I think Steve Shillingford sounds all of the time. So, we did it. We survived the insanely hard MBA. Take a second to congratulate yourselves there, because it was no mean feat. And I don't just mean surviving the endless liver transplants that were required to endure gym social events, nor do I mean the procrastinating with your precious study time by dreaming up fantasy football-style study groups that included Mary Moore, Joy, and Mr. 89er himself, Aya. I know that most of you have been in shell shock for the last 11 weeks, believing you have regained your lives. But if you really think about it, finishing the program is just the start of something new. Life after the program. There is no help desk for life after the program. No Yen, Carol, Emily, Jinsu to tell you where to be. And that can actually be kind of scary. Really pretty scary. There was a comfort we felt in being tucked away behind the curtain of academia. A comfort that we took knowing we had an essay to write, or a presentation to make, or a deadline to meet. So, what now? People look at us and ask, what are you going to do with your MBA? I mean, excuse me, what am I going to do with it? Nothing. Do you have any idea how difficult it was to get this? So, I thought about just not doing any more stuff. I thought maybe we could all just do nothing because it feels pretty good right now. But maybe not. I mean, that's just not who we are. We're not kind of stoppers, we're more doers. Imagine giving a response like this to Marjorie during the interview to get into the program. As Marjorie turns to you and says, "So Simon, what exactly do you want to do with an MBA?" Well, Marjorie, I thought I'd just get it and kind of, look good for a while. It seems that we're all forged from the same kiln of having to do more. And let me clarify quickly that this is not a need to overachieve. Except maybe in the case of my fellow patriot Martin, who has more letters after his name than I actually have in mine. But aside from that, I believe we are a truly remarkable bunch of people who just want to do more with their lives. Consider for a moment the old cliche that we heard at every information session, that we no doubt considered using during our own interviews. Business school is a place where I want to learn to think. Well, I think you all believed you could think extremely well to begin with. And you see, that's the problem. We all can think very well. In fact, it's hard to get away from the endless and seemingly omnipotent monologue that goes inside of our heads virtually every waking second of the day. Although some would argue that there wasn't a better moment to enjoy clearing all thoughts from your head than about 2 hours and 25 minutes into the capital markets class. But the real point of the challenge, and this one goes out to the back row in particular, was the ability to stay alert and attentive throughout the learning experience. And that's what the cliche is trying to tell you. It's about trying to exercise some control over how and what you think. It means being conscious and aware enough to choose what you pay attention to and choose how you construct meaning from that experience. Because that's also what it's been for many of us, and me in particular. It's been an experience. And I don't just mean, wow, what a ride. It's about experiencing as much as you can from the world. That's why my wife and I are living in the United States. That's why over 53% of the class have made that same decision, to experience at least some part of their lives in a different place, in a different way. We are small creatures and we're here for only a short time, so I urge you to continue doing everything with your time. I will use some words that Shaston is probably more than familiar with. I say just do it. So at this point, you're probably thinking, how much did he drink during the program? I didn't think the damage would be permanent. And I know we're not NASA scientists, except maybe Kumar, who I think was one. Nor are we adventurers working for National Geographic. We only did an MBA. What does that entitle us to do? Well, in my humble opinion, engaging in an MBA is a conscious decision to do more with your life. And not just homework, not just paid work, but to open yourself up to how you think about work, to what you choose to do. They always told us that you may not be able to do what you want, but I say this is a great way to find out how to do what you want to do. It's about being able to work smart enough and hard enough so that you can enjoy the life you lead inside work, and then you can enjoy more of the life you lead outside work. It's about choosing what you pay attention to and how your experience grows from it. So I'm reminded of a moment of revelation from the program. It was a conversation with my good friend Jason Moss. I will never forget it. It was during the first block on the bus ride from the Woodfin Suites to Haas. The smell of urine from the restrooms at the back of the bus is forever burnt into my nostrils, and I'm not sure if it was the conversation with Jason or the burning smell of pee that etches this in my memory. But Jason asked me a series of simple questions that my father-in-law also calls the 7 steps to success, as he is a management training consultant. Jason's version actually only has 5 steps, and that, my friends, is what an MBA can do for you. So he says to me, when do you want to retire? How old do you want to be when you finally take time to sit back and enjoy some time after your career? And then think, what is the last job you want to do? And by that, I don't mean pooper scooper in an elephant house. What is the final job you foresee yourself doing before you retire? And how long do you want to be doing that? I mean, you don't want to work hard for all your life just to get to your dream job and do it for 6 weeks. Then think, how many jobs are there between that job and the job you're doing now? So when does that mean you need to be thinking about your move? And my answer to those questions is invariably always at least 6 months ago. The point of the story is not to set you in a blind panic, but to remind you of two things. That you are all in control of what you do, and do more. Whatever you're doing, you can do more. So I wait with bated breath to hear from each of you how you continue to get the most out of life, how you prove yourselves to be smarter than the average bear. Like John, who went from being a Navy pilot to an investment banker, or Joy, who went from directing the Ernst & Gallo production line to consulting on energy efficiency and conservation. Or like Gal, who went from managing the development of of computer software to launching a fashion website, www.lookaday.com, in case any of you didn't know. Or Kevin, who is going to go from a fiancé to being a husband. Aren't you, Kevin? I mean, talk to Jessica. She got married. It's not that difficult. Or from being a husband to being a dad. And this is one of the most remarkable achievements in my eyes, when you think that Chirag, Alex, Jason, Madsen, Leland, Darshant, Chris, Frank, and I know I forgot one, all went from being a husband to a dad. I look to the class also as defiant of the economic times. When most people are hunkering down and just trying to stay out of the firing line, many of our class are defying convention by taking a bold leap into the next phase of their careers, by switching professions or taking on new jobs. Here I'd like to give credit to Fidel, who I think could have the world record for initiating a return on his investment when he moved jobs in the first week of the program. To many, many others, including Jeff Gild and Vlad, who are just a few that I've heard some good news about since the program. And to all the rest of you who are, who want to, and who will make a difference in the time to come. My personal goal was to get a giant picture of myself on an airport billboard, but apparently some of you only like the way I sound and not so much the way I look. So it's in giving credit to the rest of the class and some of the achievements that we've made that I cannot overlook some of the defining contributions that our classmates have made to enrich the experience of each and every one of us. I would like us to take a second to appreciate the efforts of Vivek throughout the program as the speaker representative. We were lucky enough to have the opportunity to hear some fantastic people coming in and talk to us, and I know he was instrumental in that. I would like to thank Mona, Chirag, and Avi for their valuable work with the program faculty and administration. And I hope that Mona will do the right thing and stand up and represent Avi in court when he's charged under copyright law for scanning all of our textbooks. A much understated but significant contribution was Ruben as our ethical rep. All he actually needed to do was focus the beard on us, and suddenly this weight of ethical rain came down. While we're talking of Avi, I wanted to take a second to say an extra big thank you for the incredible amount of time and effort he put into putting our class book together. I had a look at it, and it has some wonderful photos and memories, some wonderful quotes, all the Donnerisms, all of the great moments in class that he actually took the time to write down and repeat for us. So a big thank you to Avi for that. And last but by no means least, because I certainly don't want you to think that this was an important part of my MBA experience, I want to thank Jim for tirelessly and creatively filling the role of social rep. At the beginning, I felt like I was being targeted by Jim for just not going out enough, for not drinking enough, and for being British. Then I realized he did that to everyone. Apart from the British thing, apparently I'm just an easy target. Despite that, I feel he went above and beyond the call of duty every night, being the first person to the bar and the last person from it. I cannot recall the amount of times I would try and sneak out of somewhere to go back to the Durant and take a well-deserved spell of unconsciousness, and Jim would appear in front of me, waving his fingers slowly, kind of like that scene from Crocodile Dundee where Paul Hogan tames the water buffalo. And I would turn around, lurch back to the bar, and continue fighting the good fight. I will relish the memory of over half the class wearing bathrobes from the Durant in the front conference room. And if anyone had organized any poker games, then I imagine Jim would have been heard to have said such gems as, "It's time for some man-on-man action." At this point, I'd like to thank Shanghai Kevin and Richard for winning all of my money without fail every time. I currently have loans out to them as well. That is if anyone had been playing poker, because of course we didn't do that. I'd like to thank Frank for his laugh, Frankie for his innuendos, Jessica Ma for her question bank. I think she has more questions than a Kaplan GMAT course. I want to thank Allison for singing Creep by Radiohead with me that night at the Korean karaoke joint. You really saved my dignity that night. And if Arun's wife wasn't here, I would like to thank him for getting more drunk than me on several occasions and taking the heat off. I did try to include a reference to everyone in class, but luckily for you, I do not have the time. Also, luckily for you, I would have to move on to some of the more interesting stories if I was going to do that, so as long as those checks keep on coming in every month, we're good. In short, I would like to thank you all for making this the best MBA that I have ever done. I want to thank each and every one of you for making this program an insanely good MBA. Here's to you, the Berkeley-Columbia class of 2010. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. It is my pleasure now to introduce today's keynote speaker, Don Bibeault. After receiving his MBA from Columbia in 1965 and completing his military service, Don embarked on a multi-decade career turning around troubled companies. In 2005, he became the first ever recipient of the Turnaround Management Association's Lifetime Achievement Award. During a turnaround career, Don has been involved in more than 30 turnaround situations, serving as interim CEO of 9 troubled companies and special turnaround advisor to the CEOs of several multi-billion-dollar companies. Dr. Bibeault's contributions to the intellectual capital of the turnaround industry are manifest. The fundamental conceptual and strategic frameworks for turnarounds, first articulated in his 1979 PhD dissertation and later popularized in his best-selling book, set the stage for the growth of the professional field of turnaround management. His best-selling book, Corporate Turnaround: How Managers Turn Losers into Winners, is widely regarded as the leading text in the field of turnaround management. Don's latest Mission Impossible turnaround is the successful turnaround of B Square Corporation from a loss of $73 million to growth and profitability. Most recently, 2 of B Square's key customers unveiled technology that will change our daily lives. The Coca-Cola Company announced its Coke Freestyle Fountain of the Future, which revolutionizes liquid dispensing and offers consumers unprecedented beverage choices. Concurrently, the Ford Motor Company unveiled its Ford 2011 Touch system that revolutionizes our high-tech experience in the automobile. Besides his Columbia MBA, he holds a BS in electrical engineering from the University of Rhode Island and a PhD from Golden Gate University. After Columbia, he served in the U.S. Army Combat Engineers and is a Vietnam veteran. He has served on 3 university boards, including as a member of the Board of Overseers of Columbia Business School. Don?
Thank you very much, Dean Honorary, Dean Lyons. No doubt after you heard that introduction that you're all welcome to call my nickname as the Ancient Warrior. Today I want to talk to you about, I'm going to call my talk the Mission Impossible Management. I've had great personal satisfaction from solving intractable problems in many, many different situations. Changing the trajectory of a corporation from loss to profitability is very difficult. It's not for the faint of heart. As Machiavelli said, there's nothing more difficult to take in hand, more perilous to conduct, or more uncertain of its success than to take the lead in the introduction of a new order of things. The key to making the change is leadership, as been mentioned earlier here today. In a few minutes, you'll receive your MBA, Master of Business Administration. I don't think any of you really want to be business administrators. And looking at your backgrounds, you've already crossed the Rubicon in that regard, and I think all of you want to be business leaders. Administration implies routine, process, and mediocre growth. I consider mediocre growth growing at the same rate of the economy. And of course, when the economy is tanking, I like to see a company grow anyway. Today, I want to talk about the profound difference, really a chasm, between leaders and managers. Leaders innovate. Managers administer. Managing is about efficiency, about conserving the status quo. In my experience, most losing organizations are overmanaged, but poorly led. General Motors is a recent example of what I'm getting at in that regard. Leading, on the other hand, is about effectiveness. It's about innovating. It's about penetrating new markets. The reason we need innovative leaders is the general skepticism of mankind, which does not really believe in innovation until after experience has already proven its value. We are indeed fortunate to live in the Bay Area, which is the world leader in venture capital. Venture capital supports innovation before experience has proven its value. Good managers do things right, but often march in the wrong direction. You will find, and you probably already have found, that when you make the wrong strategic decision, you'll be fighting a protracted battle, uphill battle, to get good results. A software company decided to bring out a hardware product, and to compound the error, decided to manufacture it itself. It was clear to me that this was the wrong strategic direction. I was brought in to change that, but before I could, the company, not a very large company, had wasted $25 million on moving in the wrong direction. If you're moving in the right strategic direction, you'll find that even operational execution runs far more smoothly. Managers maintain the existing vision. Leaders develop a new and more powerful vision and pull people towards that vision. I was called in by the Bank of America, and at the time the bank was having its own difficulties, and it had foreclosed on 78,000 acres of California farmland. Now, to give you an idea, 78,000 acres is more than 120 square miles. I'm from the tiny state of Rhode Island, so to me, 120 square miles is a lot of square miles. The bank's vision was quite simple. It's a cotton farm, cotton land. It's cotton-picking difficult land, and that was only selling for $1,200 an acre because cotton was in a depression. Now, I didn't know anything about agriculture when I started, but I had an open mind and an inquisitive spirit, and looking at your backgrounds, it looks like you also have that. I soon discovered that 70% of this cotton land could be used as dairy land. Even in a depressed state, dairy land was selling for $5,000 an acre, 4 times the price of the cotton land. So Bank of America got its money back, and disaster was averted in this situation. The lesson here is that the leader is someone who has the capacity to create a compelling vision and to take people to a new and better place. Managers accept the status quo. Leaders challenge the status quo. In one of my Mission Impossible assignments, thank you for calling them that, by the way, that's very great. 4 out of 5 of the operating divisions were losing money, and the company was rapidly running out of cash. Now, that by itself doesn't scare me at all, because that's usually a situation that happens when I'm called in. Worse still, there was an overhang because the company had 200,000 square feet of unoccupied office space, and it was costing the company $9 million a year. So if you could fix the whole operating situation, you still had this overhang. So I went to the chief financial officer and I said, what are you doing about these leases? He gave me a timid managerial response. He said we were stuck because he had taken a look at the leases and they were all properly documented. He had the lawyers review them and they were legally enforceable, and they were even properly notarized. Now, by golly, are we going to spend $9 million a year that we don't have to because they're properly notarized? I think not. So I negotiated our way out of it and reduced our annual occupancy cost by $8 million. And the lesson here is, do not be satisfied with the status quo, particularly when the status quo is killing you. You've got to do something about it. Now, managers move people. Leaders motivate people. A manager pushes people and they move and can move people again. In the short run, that can get things done. But in the long run, no organization can excel without being motivated. The leader, by contrast, pulls people and energizes them to the new vision that I spoke about earlier. The lesson is, more important than the vision itself is the ability to motivate people. And more important than that is to translate that vision into practical action that people can believe in. A vision is not enough. You've got to show the steps on how to get from A to B. And you, in fact, have to take those first steps. In that other situation, if I had accepted the status quo on those leases, and then I was asking people in the rest of the company to make all the sacrifices that were needed to turn that company around, I wouldn't have gotten anywhere. You've got to lead in the front. You've got to be the most active person, and you've got to show other people that it can be done. It's been mentioned here today that we live in difficult economic times. But take heart, because my experience shows that creativity trumps adversity nearly every time. I want to talk briefly about a case I call the wastebasket turnaround. Now, yeah, I'm not loony, but I'm getting there slowly. When I took over Bastille, the total market for that type of goods that it has served markets had declined 80% in the prior year. The Bank of America had cut off the company's credit lines. And by the way, I do love the Bank of America, Dean. I do. I notice you're the Bank of America scholar here. The company could no longer buy product on credit. The atmosphere in the company can best be described as, woe is me. The sky is falling. The end must be near. And of course, when they see me show up, they definitely think the end is near. But think about it. Adversity can be your best friend, because the thing that caused the most trouble also caused the fact that there was 1.5 years' supply of our type of goods sitting in hundreds of what are called trucker yards in all the oil patch areas in the United States. Now, what did Best Steel do about that? These oil trucker yards sent Best list of their supplies. Best promptly tore up these lists and threw them in the wastebasket. I said, man, that's a big mistake. Stop throwing them in the wastebasket. In fact, let's punch up the data and put it in a database. And within a short period of time, we had the premier database of where all this distressed pipe was in the entire country. The essential to turn around this company was imparted in that database. Instead of ordering pipe a year in advance, we became short-term traders at double the normal margins. The result, in a 3-year period, the bottom line was improved more than $150 million. I shouldn't tell you the great secret of turnarounds, but you're such a great group of graduates, and you're getting 2 MBAs, that I'm going to tell you the key ingredient in turning a company around. There's nothing more powerful I've learned than a small number of customers, products, salespeople account for the vast majority of your profitable results. Some people call this Pareto's Law. Vilfred Pareto was an Italian economist that died about 1925. Some people think he lived in the 15th century. That's wrong. The cases I've worked on would make Pareto roll over in his grave because they're much more severely disproportionate. Believe it or not, in a multi-billion-dollar company that I worked on, which had 1,600 dealers, the top 20% of dealers accounted for 145% of dealer profitability. Now, worse still and insidious was that 60% of all marketing resources were wasted on underperforming dealers. We had to change that. The company was literally starving its winners to feed its losers. Permit me to say, it is my understanding that the politically correct doctrine on this Berkeley campus is the same as that: to starve your winners in order to feed your losers. Well, that may be the case, but I will guarantee you that that is a recipe for corporate ruin. Don't do that in your business career. I have found that the same amount of marketing resource, or dollars, or people, or promotion, that is utilized and directed towards the top group of performers gets 5 times the results on the average of those of same resources applied to the bottom group. The lesson here is to succeed. Most turnarounds are based on the concept of feed your winners and starve your losers, not on the social concepts that are prevalent in this country. The biggest leverage point in business is not financial leverage, it's people leverage. In my very first turnaround, when I was a rookie turnaround guy, I was asked to prepare a turnaround plan for a very large sales organization. It was losing millions of dollars per month. Existing sales management had the traditional solution. You're going to hear this every time. We're going to work our way out of this by hiring more salesmen, spending more promotion dollars, and especially adding a lot more support staff. The words are usual: more, more, more. Well, as you can probably gather by now, I'm not a more guy. I'm more, perhaps a less guy, but let's take and redirect away from the losers and to the winners. Well, my analysis was completely different. I found the top 50% of the sales force accounted for 86% of all the sales revenue. So my plan said, cut the sales force in half, drastically reduce overhead, and take the dollars that we do have and that we freed up and use those to enhance the situation for our winners. Because I was a rookie, my plan was initially rejected. But the losses got worse. And as is the case many times, only on the edge of disaster did people start listening to me. Well, sometimes they listen to me more now, but in the next 3 years, with half the sales force, a reduction of 40% in overhead, we doubled revenues and increased the bottom line by $25 million. Now, the reason this plan worked was because our highly motivated salespeople were no longer infected by the negative thinking of 150 losers that contaminated every sales meeting and every new product launch. We didn't want to have that infection, and that demoralization plays a huge role. You've got to get rid of the complainers and the whiners. I know this is pretty tough language, but you know, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. By now, you won't be surprised when I advise you not to avoid trouble situations, but in fact, seek them out. Now, I realize that most of you aren't as crazy as me to want to do that, but the gentleman who gave the class speech, I think you are perhaps crazy enough to want to seek out trouble situations. And to quote one of your countrymen that I greatly admire, Winston Churchill said, "An optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty." Now, when you look back, and you guys can partially look back, and of course, being a class of 65, I can look back on a lot of stuff. I think you might have thought I was going to come in here in my wheelchair today, but I didn't see a ramp. Oh, they got a ramp right over here. Things aren't always as bad in hindsight as they appear in foresight. I'm reminded of the story of an old man who said on his deathbed that his life had been filled with trouble. Oh my God, it was bad, it was really bad. Most of which never happened. And that's a lesson that you should take away. Remember, if trouble doesn't kill you outright, it'll only make you stronger. I think you've already found, because you are experienced, think back on your lives and think back of where the greatest lessons were learned. Was it in the easy stuff, or was it in the really difficult stuff? Difficulties mastered are opportunities won. 500 years ago, Niccolo Machiavelli said, "Entrepreneurs are simply those who understand there is little difference between obstacle and opportunity and are able to turn both to their advantage." So, Berkeley has a great entrepreneurial program, and Columbia is trying to catch up, I guess, and doing a good job at it. But think about it, 500 years ago, a man was stating some pretty good stuff, wasn't it? It isn't brand new. There aren't that many brand new things on the planet. Well, I'm told, in wrapping up, that it's obligatory in any commencement speech to talk about the future. I happen to have a good friend in my life. His name was Peter Drucker. And I hope you've read some of his stuff because it's great. And he and I got to know each other. And Peter said, the only thing we know about the future is that it's going to be different. Long ago, Shakespeare told us, it's not the stars that hold your destiny, but is it ourselves. It is within ourselves. You have the skills. You have the experience. And soon you're going to have 2 MBAs to help you along the way. More than most others, you are clearly masters of your own destiny. My best wishes are with you in doing so. Thank you very much, and Godspeed.
Thank you very much for those comments, Don. So many important ideas in them. Question the status quo has been part of this place forever. This is Berkeley after all. looking for the white space around our roles in life, around our businesses. That comes with the territory. Another idea that had great impact on me that Don mentioned was this notion of before value is proven. That is really an essential concept. People talk about the knowledge economy. Something that everybody knows that is proven is very hard to create competitive separation with, right? It is precisely the idea, as yet unproven, as opposed to the knowledge that's commonly known, that you create the kind of advantage, business value, and social value that we're all working so hard to create. And then I think another element of what he said, which is so important when thinking about leaders versus managers, a related comment to what he said, others have said it better than I. Managers do things right. Leaders do the right thing. We need you to do the right thing, and we know that you're prepared to do so. Let me introduce now, and it is my pleasure to introduce now, the head of all of the Berkeley-Columbia Executive MBA program, Kathy Lilligren. Kathy, please, to the podium.
Each year, the Chait Teaching Award is given to the Berkeley faculty member that embodies teaching excellence. This year's recipient was selected by the students of the class of 2010 based on his ability to balance real-world experience and academics while keeping the class engaged and inspired. Students valued his entrepreneurial spirit, achievements, sense of humor, and practical lessons of starting your own business. On behalf of the class of 2010, I am pleased to present this year's Earl F. Chait Award for Teaching Excellence to Professor Steve Blank.
Thank you, and I'll get even. I'll just be brief, but I wanted to remind you of when I first got introduced to the Berkeley-Columbia program. I came home with the paper Facebook with the names and degrees and backgrounds of all my students, and I promptly just tossed it on the kitchen table. My wife said, "How are these guys?" I said, just another class." And as I went on in the kitchen, she starts leafing through the Facebook. And every page she turned, she'd look at me and go, "Just another class?" And she'd turn another page, another page. Until she said, "Steve, have you read this Facebook?" I said, "Nah, why should I do that?" And she said, "Because they have, every one of them, better resumes than you do." With that, I wanted to thank you for making me a better teacher. So thank you very much.
I would like to read you comments from your class about a faculty member. She teaches so well that you remember what you learn after many terms without review. She is fun and engaging and cares passionately about making sure we learn the fundamentals. She is one of the most enthusiastic and articulate professors I have had. The way she turns a complex and rigid subject into a stimulating learning experience is truly masterful. She had a way of making you learn whether you wanted to or not. Her pragmatic teaching style made the material digestible, and her humor made the challenging course fun, and one I will always remember. I bet you couldn't guess from these student quotes that I was talking about corporate finance. Professor Donna Hitzrich, for her dedication, drive for excellence, and ability to make even the most feared subject a beloved course, is this year's recipient of the Columbia Executive MBA Award for Commitment to Excellence, which recognizes a member of the faculty or administration for their contributions to the class and the program. Donna could not be here with you today, but it will be with great pride that I will present this award to her, Donna's humor, clarity, patience, and passion for corporate finance left an indelible mark on your class. Donna has recorded a video message that we are now going to play for you.
Hi, Donna Hitchridge here. Sorry I'm not able to be with you today, but I want to take this moment to record this video to thank you very much for the award you've given me today. I must say that it was a terrific pleasure to get to know each and every one of you and to be in the corporate finance learning experience with you all. And what a learning experience it was, whether we were battling out Clarkson 1 or we were battling on the Emba Gala floor at the auction. We had a great time. And that's what I'll always remember about you guys. Your incredible warmth and your incredible openness and your willingness to suspend any disbelief you might have and just go forward. And in going forward, I think we both learned a lot. I know I did. I know you've made me a much better teacher than I was before I came out to visit you guys in Berkeley. And I hope, it's my sincerest hope, that our paths will cross again in the future soon. So again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Have a wonderful day today. Enjoy yourselves. You've worked really hard. You deserve it. And the best of luck to you in the future in all that you do. And again, thanks so much for letting me be a part of your MBA experience. Be well. Hope to see you soon. Thanks.
It is with great pleasure that I introduce Assistant Dean Kelly Blanco of Columbia Business School's Executive MBA programs and ask Executive Director Kathy Lilligren of the Berkeley-Columbia Executive MBA program to come up to present an award.
Each year, the class votes for one student to receive the Distinguished Service Award. This year's recipient was noted for his selfless dedication to the class. He created numerous networking events, organized social activities, and went out of his way to make sure all the students bonded. This person was called the social glue of the class, a selfless leader, and he single-handedly emphasized the power of networking. He served as the social representative for the entire 19 months of the program and was well-liked by all the students, staff, and faculty.
It is our pleasure to award the Distinguished Service Award to James Monteleone.
Unlike Simon, I didn't have a prepared speech for this, so it'll be short and brief. But really, this is all because of you guys. It was because meeting you at that first event that we had and first time to get to know everybody, I decided I really wanted to get to know everybody a lot better and spend as much time as I could. I think anybody else would have done the same thing in my position. I just wanted to feel that our benefit of this entire program would be greatly enhanced if we all knew each other in a much tighter and closer bond from what I had seen from some of the other classes. So thanks a lot. I appreciate this.
We will begin to present the degrees now.
Ready? Why don't you stand up? We ready? Faribor's Frankie Rupavar.
Vlad Kuznetsov.
Atul Bandari.
Kevin Liao.
Raj Damodaran.
Simon Timothy Osborne.
Jason Matson.
Jess Gild.
Sudarshan Chitre.
Gabriel King.
Jeffrey Tyson.
Shailendra Kumar.
Stephen William Shillingford.
Jerry Lynn.
Tracy Erickson.
Allison Deneen Bowe.
Mona Patel.
Jim Monteleone.
Vaughn C. Holbrook.
Mustafa Muhammad.
Subramani Iyer, the Iyer.
Arun Goyal.
Vivek Raghavan.
Raul Chopra.
Joy Ulicki.
Christopher Congo.
Shirag Shah.
Vikram Singhvi.
Avishai Avivi.
Sarah C. Lochner.
Martin Smith.
Satish Sudarshan.
John Guo.
Darshant Bhagat.
Justin John Wildhaber.
Jorge Schmilinski.
Ken Peartree.
Richard Shan.
David D. Woodworth.
Jessica Shaw.
Ju Mayong Huang.
Suzanne Simmons.
Nishant Sinha.
Yi Gan.
Mary Moore Patterson.
Jessica Hu.
Prabhu Raghavan.
Carlos M. Ortega.
Kevin Waklowitz.
Shaston G.
Jonathan Rowan.
Frank Perez.
Alex Schernig.
Jason Benjamin Moss.
Christina G. Henschel.
Ruben Schwartz.
Rakesh Chirla.
Fidel Zaudi.
Benjamin S. Wheeler.
Leland Carroll Clemens, Jr.
Christopher Bradley Coons.
Please stand and applaud our graduates.
Now, they're not quite done yet. They're not quite done yet. If I may, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the President of the University of California and by the Chancellor of UC Berkeley, I grant you the degree Master of Business Administration. Congratulations. Please be seated. Thank you very much. It is now official. Now you have 2 MBAs. All the graduates here have commenced a new lifelong relationship as alumni with the Haas School of Business at UC Berkeley and with Columbia Business School at Columbia University. We welcome you to this new distinction. Take advantage of these impressive alumni networks, both of them. They will always be there for you. In many ways, this is exactly that lifelong fit that you bargained for when you chose to come. It has been and will be a lifelong relationship with you. Please stay in touch. Make sure you keep us connected to opportunities out there, and we'll do our part in keeping you connected with opportunities. After this ceremony, you are all invited to join us for a reception in front of Wheeler Auditorium, just in front of this building. In closing, let me say to us, all of us here, all of the professors that you've worked with, all of the staff, these communities, these wonderful communities that are Columbia Business School and the Haas School of Business, we are proud of you. We are proud of your achievements today. We eagerly anticipate your great accomplishments in the future. We need you to lead. We know you're ready to lead. You have our best wishes for success. Congratulations, and thanks to all of you for coming today.